getting more and more chocolate. And this made soldiers extremely happy. Chocolate provided energy, nutrition, comfort, and a boost of morale. So this was something that definitely helped soldiers get through the hard times. So in 1920, military food was bacon and eggs, canned soup, bean, peas, and corn mix, chocolate, and coffee. We're in 1920, and right off the bat, it's looking better than 1910.
Smells better also.
Yeah, we got bacon, we got eggs, and then, of course, you see chocolate.
This is 1920.
So there was a big candy boom in 1920, especially with chocolate, and soldiers had a demand for it more than anything else. Cheers. Not the best eggs and bacon I've ever had, but
Not the worst.
canned foods are huge in the military. It was served cold. Cheers. Think. Wow, that is rough. As bad as that was, let me redeem myself. We're in the army. We got some chocolate. Chef, it's wild out there. Let's just have a moment together and have this chocolate bar.
It might be our last piece.
Cheers. Oh, okay. That redeemed itself a little bit.
That did. I'm gonna go with the 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm always at half a point. Ahead of you because I was going to give this a 3. Not bad. I just hope it gets better. Let's see what 1930 has for us. We're now in 1930, where the average pay for a soldier was $21 a month. Yeah, it went down, and U.S. Army uniforms look like this. It's 1930, and C rations were just developed. And if you're thinking to yourself, what are C rations? Well, rations are special packs of food that soldiers would get, designed to give them enough energy and nutrition. So there were different types of rations. There was A ration, B ration, and even K ration. And these were for soldiers in different types of situations. Sometimes they'll include kitchen tools to help you make your food, like this can opener. It's called the P38 can opener, and it's super tiny and portable, and I could see why they would give this to soldiers. And these rations wouldn't always just come with food. They would include guilty pleasures like a cigarette and, sometimes even a magazine. So in 1930, military food was GI stew, canned bread, canned fruits, tobacco with rolling paper, and powdered lemonade. We're in 1930, and I thought it was gonna get better, but we went backwards. We have GI stew here. Basically, it's corned beef hash with vegetables, and then we put the crackers in there. It smells bad. Talking about GI, Chef, were you a GI Joe fan?
Yes, I was the action figure for G.I. Joe.
Oh, you're that guy.
I'm that guy. American hero, baby.
This is rolled tobacco. They would just put it in here, roll it up, and smoke it. Did you smoke cigarettes or any tobacco during your time? No. Wow. Let's go ahead and try this GI stew. The smell of it. Ooh. Cheers.
Just the last week, I was able to identify the big moves on the Bank Nifty option. 三号标。 With the
What's happening, man?
It's like mush. It's like regurgitated.
I'm excited to dig into some canned bread here. I didn't know canned bread was a thing.
Canned bread is a thing.
Yeah.
You know, you can keep this bread around for 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years.
Cheers.
It's building up.
What's going
Whoa.
on? I'm gonna go ahead and rate this dish. It's gonna be my first 1 out of 5-star dish. It is horrific.
I know the people in 1930 say, I wish I was born in 1910. It's half.
I know this was bad, but I think it's gonna get better. It's now 1940. The average pay for a soldier was $50 a month, and US Army uniforms look like this.
We've made it to 1940, and even though sea rations were really prominent in this decade, there were also things called field kitchens. They're basically mobile kitchens that the Army used to cook food for soldiers when they were far out in the fields or even in combat zones. They were designed to provide hot meals to soldiers, so you could just imagine how excited they would get when they would hear a field kitchen's gonna show up, because they were finally gonna get different types of meals than they're used to, because, you know, everything that came in the rations were always the same. So in 1940, military food was spaghetti with meat sauce, pancake and syrup, fresh bread, an apple pie, and tea.
We've made it to $19.40, and in front of a chef doesn't look that bad. This is because field kitchens were obviously a big thing.
They had one general location of where the field kitchen is going to be. It's going to be an open area where you can have like a flow line for it. So because like in food service, you want to be able to flow through because you're going to have a bunch of people at one time. You want to feed them quick, fast, expediently, and just make them come in and go out and keep on going. Kind of like today is kind of like McDonald's.
Yeah. We got pancakes, we got an apple pie, we got pasta, fresh bread.
It's such a weird combination though. What's that metallic taste?
I think that's the tin. This is better than most of the desserts we've had so far.
This is a hot apple pie.
Cheers. Oh, very hot.
But delicious, huh?
Actually kind of flaky.
Yeah, oh man.
A little crust on it. I'm okay with that.
Probably the worst pasta I've ever had. But considering everything, I think the apple pie really held everything up here. 2.5 stars out of 5.
Apple pie, save for the day, 2 stars.
Let's see if 1950 is any better.
1950, here we come.
It's 1950. The average pay for a soldier is $75 a month, and U.S. Army uniforms look like this.
In the 1950s, the military introduced MCI ration, which stood for Meal Combat Individual, and it was to replace the C rations because so many soldiers were complaining about the mundane food that they would eat every single day. It still had a ton of canned food, and the quality was basically the same, but at least you got variety, so you weren't eating the same thing over and over again. Also, as you guys could see, I'm heating up the food in the can, and this is what soldiers had to do at the time because they didn't have kitchen tools at their disposal. I mean, this was also harmful to do. I mean, you got chemical leaching, metal toxicity from the cans, so it wasn't ideal, but they gotta work with what they can. So in the 1950s, military food was bean and sausage, peanut butter, crackers, canned chocolate pudding, and powdered milk.
We're in 1950, and I just feel like these things are getting worse. You see what's in front of us?
What is it?
We got canned sausage and canned beans. The way they got this food was supply drops. Are they like looking in the sky and then chasing the food?
I know you have.
One more, one more.
Drop zone. Not saying it's gonna hit directly on that coordination, but it'll hit in that area.
Have you ever had a situation where you got a supply drop, but then it like fell further away and you didn't get what you needed?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a pain.
Well, let's go ahead and try this delicious. It looks horrible. Cheers. Oh my goodness. They also gave canned chocolate pudding. Let's try that. Cheers. It's not horrible.
That's not horrible.
Yeah.
I'll take that sweetness any day over this right here.
Definitely.
I'll give it a 2, and that's me being generous.
All right.
Because
well,
this was like, hey, it's hard that time. 1950, it was the heat of battle right there.
Definitely. I give it 2.5. Let's get out of this high stress, high combat situation.
This is stressing me out.
Yeah, let's settle down in the 1960s.
Okay.
It's 1960, and the average pay for a soldier is $83 a month, and U.S. Army uniforms look like this.
It's 1960 and we're at the peak of the Vietnam War, and MCI rations were still a thing, but the military started exploring dehydrated and freeze-dried meals. It was super light to carry, and all you had to do is just throw in some boiling hot water, mix it up, and just wait for it to be done. But in a minute here, you're about to see why freeze-dried meals weren't any better than canned goods. Another thing that the soldiers would receive in the Vietnam War were care packages from home. Things like their favorite snacks and even homemade cookies. I mean, as a soldier, if you're in war and you get that, I can't even imagine the boost of morale that has. So in the 1960s, military food was freeze-dried meals, homemade cookies, Cheez-Its, and hot chocolate.
We're in 1960 now. This is where freeze-dried became really popular because it's light to carry. All you gotta add to it is some hot water. It looks horrible, but it doesn't smell that bad.
What if I told you that that A-star could cost less than a cup of coffee? Sounds tempting?
Hot Academy.
It does.
I feel like it's been hell for us these last few decades. Oh my goodness. The texture on this is crazy weird. Oh my goodness. I lost it up. Oh my god. Bro, what the
That's nasty, bro.
Oh my goodness. What the was that, man? Oh, Chef, we're back.
Woo!
Chef, what was that?
That was a hard one.
I'd rather take the GI stew over this. Let's go ahead and cleanse our palate with some baked homemade goods made from our parents. Oh.
Still rating a 0.
I'm gonna agree with Chef on this one. Our first Zero out of 5. This is by far the worst one we've had. We've made it to 1970, and the average pay for a soldier is $193 a month, and U.S. Army uniforms look like this.
Okay, it's 1970 and America is still in the Vietnam War. And because of this, American soldiers were walking around local shops, so they were introduced to Asian cuisine, like fried rice, pho noodle soup, spring rolls. I mean, these are just a few things that American soldiers fell in love with. And because of this, Vietnamese food became super popular in America after soldiers came back from the war because they were craving all that delicious food that we're eating in Vietnam. So in 1970, military food was Vietnamese stir-fry, rice, tropical fruits, beef jerky, and Vietnamese iced coffee.
We're in 1970, and I'm smiling, and Chef Rush is kind of smiling because in front of us, we actually have what seems like a delicious meal. This is 1970. We're in Vietnam. A lot of the soldiers there would go and have local food. Let's go ahead and try this. This might be one of the best foods. Chef, we made it.
Why we had to go to another country?
With a little bit of rice too. Oh, come on.
Nice, flavorful. Right, nice little sauce on it.
Caramelized with that brown sugar. Oh my goodness. We got tropical fruits. My favorite, kiwi.
Bingo.
What's going on here? Wow. Have you ever had Vietnamese coffee?
I love Vietnamese coffee.
Right.
This is 1970. Right here, with this, it's a 5 for me. I gotta go to the top of the food chain. It's a 5 for me.
Yeah, I 100% agree. A 5 for sure. This is by far the best.
Bye bye，再见再见。我会祝你一路顺风，半路直走。Are you Chinese? If not, right, I hope your family die.
Meal we've had. Let's go ahead and get right into the 80s, which might be a little bit more familiar to Chef Rush. Finally made it to meal we've had. Let's go ahead and get right into the 80s, which might be a little bit more familiar to Chef Rush. Finally made it to
Right here with this, it's a 5 for me.
They also gave Can out of 5 local food.